This is going to be a two-part course. We're going to cover in the first part an introduction to the iOS, which is Apple's mobile platform, which is currently running on iPads, iPhones, iPod Touches. Then we'll talk about setting up your development environment, a basic introduction to Objective-C, the iOS project, so we'll look at the structure and see what makes up an iOS project. Then a particular component in most iOS applications is a view controller. It's pretty central to creating an iOS application, so we'll look at that. And then we'll take a look at Interface Builder. And that'll give us a pretty basic understanding of how to develop an iOS. In the second part of the course, we'll cover some more advanced topics, and we'll eventually end up publishing an application to the actual Apple App Store. So we'll actually end up creating a full application from start to finish. So this course is going to be based on the iPhone. And a lot of the things that you're going to learn in this course are going to apply to an iPad, an iPod Touch. If Apple allows us to develop for the Apple TV, it would apply for that also. Basically, anything that's using the iOS. Now, we're going to focus on the iPhone here specifically because we don't want to branch out to things that are not so important. I think it's a lot more important to get a focused feel of how to develop for a particular hardware device, and then with that knowledge, you can easily apply it to iPad or iPod Touch since it's going to be so similar. And as I said before, we're going to be building a real application during this course. The application that we're going to build is going to be called Protein Tracker. If you listen to my Android course, you'll be familiar with this because we built this in Android. And we're going to do the same thing in iPhone. And I feel like doing this is really going to help you to get a good understanding of exactly what is required in order to build an application from start to finish and publish it out to the App Store. And once you have that confidence of being able to do that, then it'll be a lot easier to learn more advanced topics and just apply it to what you already know. So let's go ahead and go over what we're going to cover in this particular module. So in this module, we're going to talk about what is iOS. We're going to look a little bit about the history of iOS and find out, well, what really makes this up. And then we're going to look at iPhone development considerations. When you're developing for the iPhone, there's certain hardware restrictions that you're going to have, and just things in general that you're going to want to consider that are different than other platforms out there or different than desktop development. Next, we'll look at the iOS architecture. The iOS architecture is fairly complex, and there's a couple of layers to it. So we're going to look at each one of those layers and talk about some of the APIs that exist and what kind of things that you can expect that are going on under the covers internally in your iPhone or your iPad. Then we'll talk about the application lifecycle. And this is an important part of developing on any platform because you need to know exactly what's going to happen when you start up an app and how does it exit and what are the transitions and states and places where you can insert your custom code. Then we'll take a brief look at the APIs. We're just going to talk about all the different things that you can do on the iOS platform. We're not really going to go into depth here. And then finally, we're going to look at the Apple App Store, what it's about, and what makes it different than the other app stores that are out there.